Hey, how's it going? We're free scripting this one, as in we're free of a script. I don't really have any thoughts other than what I've just been thinking about last night about the upcoming Glaive changes in Season 17. So, I'll bring the TWAB up on my PC so I can read a little bit of it. I'll skip over the introduction stuff. Bungie says, our intent for Glaive melees is that it should activate perks that trigger off melee damage or kills, for example, ammo refill from Grave Robber, weapon damage buff times 5 stacks on Swashbuckler, ammo refill from Sealed Arm Kara Grasps. Glaive melees should not activate perks that trigger off powered melee damage or kills, or require expending subclass melee energy such as Combination Blow or Assassin's Cowl. Glaives should benefit from melee damage buffs such as Winter's Guile or Wormguard Caress. Should not benefit from weapon damage buffs such as Rampage, Killclip or Swashbuckler, and Glaive projectiles should benefit from weapon damage buffs such as those three I just said. Changing in Season 17. We're pushing Glaives into their roles of harder hitting melee damage and near complete protection while shielded, as well as increasing projectile speed to make them more reliable at range. The Glaive shield grants 97.5% damage reduction in PvE and 75% in PvP. So they're increasing the melee damage versus PvE enemies except for bosses and vehicles by 25%, reducing the energy drain while shielded by 30%, and increasing the projectile speed dependent on the range stat. So currently at 0 range, the projectile speed is 30 meters per second, and at 100 it is 80 meters per second. After the change in Season 17, it'll be 60 meters per second at 0 range and 100 meters per second when at 100 range. There are some upcoming exotic Glaive buffs, but that's not really relevant right now. So I'll quickly just go over what I use on my Glaive. I personally almost always use Impulse Amplifier. I have experimented with Enhanced Threat Detector a little bit, but I've just found myself coming back to this because it feels a lot more consistent. And it'll be even more so with the speed changes to the projectile. Unstoppable Force increases your damage, so the Glaive normally does, I think it's 130 damage for a shot and 75 for a melee. It takes 3 melees to kill, or a shot and a melee. Unstoppable Force, when you block you get about 4 seconds of being able to deal 170 damage with a Glaive shot. So that's just more chip really. So, here is my plan for next season. I want to spec heavily into using Glaives. So, in saying that, I want to talk about a bunch of things that are going to benefit from the Glaive buffs, and a bunch of things that Glaives will benefit from after being buffed. First thing, you can see it already. ACDO Feedback Fence. Feedback Fence builds energy when you hit with melee, and being struck by a melee attack reduces the incoming damage and increases the energy in a devastating explosion. So if you punch someone, you get a Fury Conductor stack on your screen, and when you get hit by a melee attack, it deals more damage. It always makes an explosion when you get meleeed that does 40 damage, but if you hit a melee first, it does 80 damage. And, if nothing happens, and Glaive melee hits can build this energy, you'll be able to stab someone with a Glaive, and if they melee you back, they'll take 80 damage, and then you'll be able to stab them again for a 2-hit Glaive kill. Also, Syntheseps. Syntheseps increases melee damage and range, but they don't want to increase Glaive lunge range because that really leads to network fuckery. You already know about the melee desync, short stopping, all that. So, increase melee damage. Glaives would not be able to one-hit with that because normal melees already can't. They deal 185 damage with the Syntheseps damage buff going. But they would be able to 2-stab, which is pretty neat. So they already mentioned Wormguard Caress. Wormguard Caress builds melee damage when you get melee kills. Pretty self-explanatory. Probably going to be more useful in PvE, depending on how much the damage buff is in PvP. I don't actually know it off the top of my head because I don't use it. Don't even think about using Hardoon Most Light. I was already thinking about it, but when it got reworked, you actually have to use powered abilities. You can't hit with neutral melees to activate the overflowing light buff anymore. What else have we got? Dune Marches. We'll have, if this counts, it'll be a lightning chain glaive stab, which will be pretty neat. I don't believe hunters have any melee exotics other than sealed arm Kara grasps. Liar's Handshake I don't think would work because it wants you to use an arc melee. And maybe you can get the counterpunch, but it does give you a buff on screen, so I don't know if it would actually work or not. I don't think it would, but we want to keep an eye out for it. Kepri's Sting. I had been thinking about this a little bit. This is, punching someone with full melee energy will instantly cast Smoke Bomb, gain True Sight while in your own Smoke Bomb, and your Smoke Bomb deals increased damage. Obviously a Void exotic. It does say punching with full melee energy, and glaives do this thing where when you equip a glaive, you know how it gives you the stab? Gives you the stab. That actually changes your melee ability icon, so I'm not sure if it would actually cast the Smoke Bomb or not. If it does, that'd be pretty neat. That's all we've got there. Warlock. Warlock has two things I want to look at. Karnstein Armlets. Melee kills instantly restore a large portion of health and continue to restore health afterwards for a short duration. The regen rate is about the same as while you're standing in a healing rift, but it doesn't generate overshield, it's just constant healing. This would just be really cool, and I'm really excited to try it. Not as excited as Feedback Fence, but still really excited. I had not actually considered this, but Necrotic Grip would be really cool. Poison Glaive stabs. It doesn't actually say meleeing, it just says damaging combatants envelops them with poison that deals increasing damage over time. Anyway, that would be really cool too. Nothing there. And yeah, Winter's Guile as well. This is functionally the same as Wormguard Caress, except it's just on Warlock. Which is just the melee damage thing. Anyway, back to the character. A couple of mods to use with glaives. This is all implying that anything that says melee kills, melee damage affects glaives. Post-update. Hands-on, gain bonus super energy on melee kills. Stab someone in the face, get super energy. Impact induction on the gloves. Causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. Again, post-update if that works. Bingo bango boom. Also, next season, ammo scavengers will no longer work in Crucible. So this is just here for this season, but I'm probably just going to use holster mods. Because I'm not seeing anything else that'd be useful in that slot, and scavengers already take up a lot of energy, so there's a lot freed up, and I don't know what to put there. There are a lot of mods here. This might work in Crucible. This striking light to generate orbs of power on melee kills while charged with light. Anyway. This season I had wanted to use Suppressing Glaive and... not Suppression Mastery, where is it? Energy Vampirism. So the idea was to suppress with the Glaive and then gain ability energy from my least charged ability when they're suppressed. But I think they made Suppressing Glaive not work in PvP anymore, because I used it and it didn't work. So I'm back to double utility kickstart. 80 resilience. Which is also getting a change so that resilience will be affecting the amount of flinch you receive. Higher resilience, less flinch. And on the Void subclass, I won't look at the aspects because they don't really mean anything. It doesn't affect my melee at all, other than that the offensive bulwark increases melee damage while overshielded, which doesn't currently affect glaives but may in the future. So, Echo of Exchange. Melee final blows grant grenade energy. Melee final blows start health regeneration for you and nearby allies. Echo of Leeching. Plus 10 resilience. This already works with glaives, and it's really cool. I use it a lot. This is just for the stat boost because I have an extra aspect slot, and Echo of Undermining for the weakening void grenades. I have I had Axion Pulse on because I was just playing Trials, but I plan to use this with either Void Walls, Void Spikes, or Vortex Grenades. So I'm using it in a way that I get Controlled Demolition to make them volatile. Void Wall hits a lot of times, hits fast, and does quite a wide spread. So weakening volatile grenades. If I stab someone after they're weakened and volatile, I one-stab them. And pretty much the whole idea of this current setup is to gain a lot of ability energy for my discipline, for my grenade, by just swinging with the glaive. So I get glaive energy for hits, and I get, oh, not glaive energy, I get discipline for grenade energy, not discipline. I get grenade energy for melee kills, and I get grenade energy for melee hits, and I get super energy for melee kills. The glaive auto loads, I get a lot of barricades. And the shield bash is kind of just here because I'm never going to use the shield throw, because my main source of melee will be the glaive. So the shield bash is there so I can swap off the glaive to my primary weapon to do a shield bash against supers to suppress them. And if I'm against a Ward of Dawn, we can swap out gloves to Peregrine Greaves to one-hit supers / Ward of Dawns. Even though Peregrine's kind of bugged at the moment, and it's a bit annoying. There's a fly buzzing around me, I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, that's a bit all I wanted about all I wanted to say. It was very rambly. I didn't really have a coherent string of things I wanted to say. I never wrote anything down. I'll link the TWAB in the description. Have a good one.